I've been fishing with my boys with my good believe and kiss their blue. If I ever had to make a choice, I reckon it all be said. I'd trade them all, cause together run grandma's with the moon. I'd trade them all, cause together run.
I'm not so sure about the gal down the road.
It was a nice behind, 16 by something and down each chick. It was me from a feather before the 11 geese. For the cross for the sea. In a bowl they kids, 4 hound dogs, making this snow from the shed. We didn't get much sleep, but we had a lot of fun on Grandma's bed. We didn't get much sleep, but we had a lot of fun on Grandma's bed.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a good day.
Will you come forward? Quit talking to Kathy.
Yeah, you just keep rocking. This is our speed.
Brad dressed in the appropriate color today. I don't know if he knew the color scheme. Yeah. Susan and I and all of the senior center, Brad is representing Copper Mountain Solar, one of our solar companies here in Boulder City. They donated $2,500 to our fundraising event today. And so on behalf of the senior center, we want to present him and his company with this gift basket.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to tell you that Brad was one of our community champions, which means that he took the opportunity this week to go out with one of our drivers to help deliver Meals on Wheels. This is what this fundraiser is all about, is to raise money for Meals on Wheels, and he took this very seriously, personally, and it got involved, and we thank him and his company for their generous donation. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Brad.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Key of B. Sunny side of the mountain.
Get this one.
Now don't forget me, little darling, while I'm growing old and gray. Just a little thought before I'm going far away. 'Cause I'll be waiting on the hillside on the day that you will call. On the sunny side of the mountain where the rippling waters fall. Now, darling, tell me in your letter, do you ever think of me? Oh, tell me, little darling, tell me where you can be. 'Cause I'll be waiting on the hillside for the day that you will call. On the sunny side of the mountain where the rippling waters fall. Now don't forget about the days we courted many years ago. Don't forget all the promises you made to me and so. 'Cause I'll be waiting on the hillside for the day that you will call. On the sunny side of the mountain where the rippling waters fall. Now don't forget me, little darling, while I'm growing old and gray. Just a little thought before I'm going far away. 'Cause I'll be waiting on the hillside for the day that you will call. On the sunny side of the mountain where the rippling waters fall. On the sunny side of the mountain where the rippling waters fall. All right. You finally chill up. Just get on the TV.
You wouldn't humor.
Let's do it, G guys. The heartache button. Got that ready? Heartache's number one. I never knew this I could hurt this woman. And heartache number two was back again. He came by the now I've got heartaches by the number. Every day you love me less, each day I love you more. Yes, I've got heartaches by the number of love that I can't lose. Every day that I stop counting, that's to make my world a land. Okay, here we go. Heartache number three. You called me and said that you were back. I waited, but you lost your way. Now I've got heartaches by the number, troubles by the score. Every day you go, each day I love you. Yes, I've got heartaches by the number, I can't lose. But the day that I stop, that's the day my world will end. Yay!
Slider! Slider!
Little Johnny Rodriguez song.
Well, I gotta do dialysis.
Song called Pass Me By.
Oh, yeah.
Let my bass player get geared up here.
Well, I tell you what, I'm cheese a little bit late to look at our big test here at the park. You won't be here, so I will be out there 5 to 5.
Would you look at what came down the road today? Want me to be one more mistake you've made? A bridge to burn to get to someone new. Hey, pass me by if you're only passing through. You sure look like the traveling kind to me. Don't stop if this ain't where you want to be. Now I don't know what you think you'll run into. Hey, pass me by if you're only passing through. Mr. Detail on the lead. Tim Gordon on on the bass. I'm not gonna be your stepping stone among the other hearts that you've walked on. Lord, help me if I fall in love with you. Hey, pass me by if you're only passing through. You sure look like the traveling kind to me. Don't stop if this ain't where you want to be. Now I don't know what you think you'll run into. Hey, pass me by if you're only passing through. Bring it on down. Hey, pass me by if you're only passing through.
Don't forget to stop by the red carpet banner, everybody. Get your picture taken, and we'll give it to you later on this week.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you going that way? Nobody else playing? Okay. Here we go. Marty Robbins' old number, El Paso. Had a big request for this. Only reason I'm going to try it. So y'all hang in there. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. I told you I could. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Night time would find me in Rose's Cantina. Music would play and Paulina would whir. Blacker the night were the eyes of Paulina. Wicked and evil, all casting a spell. My love was deep for the Mexican maiden. I was in love, but in vain I could tell. One night a wild young cowboy came in, wild as the West Texas wind. Dashing and daring, the drink he was sharing.
Wonderful job, guys. I want to also thank Desert Sun Realty, Brett Runyon and Roger Tobler for coming and helping us out with this event. We're going to do another raffle. You guys ready? You guys want to do one more song?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do 10 more if you want to.
Then you'll miss your next event.
Wild side of life. Deeper down.
Put you in.
You wouldn't read my letter if I wrote. You asked me not to on the phone, but there's something I want to do. So I wrote it of this song. I didn't know God made me talk. I might have known that you would take a while. You gave up the only one that ever and went back to that side. Oh, the glamour of every night life and to the places where and liquor flow, where you wait to receive bodies and forget the truth and I didn't know God made me talk. I might have known that you would leave a while. You gave up the only one that ever and went back to that time. And went back to that time.
Great job, guys. All right, I also want to thank Capriani's Debbie Dudman and Right at Home in Care and assistants Kelly and Will Behrens for their contribution for making this event go on. One more raffle time here.
I'm slacking.
She's slacking.
You got that down by heart?
Okay, this one feels good, and it's going to Kicker. Mike Kicker. You won. Boulder Dam. $20. Woohoo! Somebody won. It's here. Yay.
Got an old Hank Williams song here. Your Cheating Heart.
J or H? C. Charlie. Charlie. Your cheating heart will make you weep. You'll cry and cry and try to sleep, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you when tears come down someday. And great love you threw away. The time will come when you feel blue. Your cheap heart will tell on you. When tears come down like falling rain, you'll toss around and call my name. You'll walk the floor the way I do. Your cheap heart will tell on you.
I want to thank all of you out there who have prayed for such a beautiful day, because oh my goodness, is it a beautiful day. Now, if it drops or it breaks, you're out. That's how it works. Okay. Nice straight line. We got everybody? Okay, here we go. On your mark. Get set. Toss. And then move back. One step. And toss. Last couple is our winner. Did it break? If it breaks, you're out. Just take the... You get to keep the Play-Doh. You get to keep it. Keep going. Once it breaks, you're out. If it's not broken, keep throwing. Last couple is our winner. Oh, we got a winner yet? If it breaks, you're out. Did it break? Then you give it to her. And you're out. And who's our winner? Oh. Do we still have, we still got two people. We still got two. Oh, we got one. You guys got to step back. Oh, you guys are our winner. Good job. Woo! Come up here and get your prizes.
Cowboy Chuck.
All right.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Cowboy Chuck from Boulder City, right downtown. And I can't help it. Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it, but I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and it looked so satisfied. I can't help it, but I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past comes slowly stealing. As I brushed your arm, I walked so close to you. Suddenly I got that old time feeling. I can't help it, but I'm still in love with you. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you the way I used to do. Heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it, I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and you look so satisfied. I can't help it, I'm still in love with you. Somebody help me. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you the way I used to do. Heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. No, I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Thank you much. Cowboy Chuck from Boulder City. Anybody know Candy Kisses?
Yeah, they do.
Where did that come from?
Right here. We knew that was everyone, didn't we?
They knew.
Yeah.
What gear you got me in?
We'll be in C.
See? Charlie.
Candy kisses wrapped in paper means more to you any old time. You don't mean it when you whisper those sweet love words in my ear. Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than mine do, dear. I built a castle out of dreams, dear. I thought that you were building one too. Now my castle all have fallen, and I'm left alone and blue. Once my heart was filled with gladness, now there's sadness and only tears. Candy kisses wrapped in paper mean more to you than any of mine. Mean more to you than any of mine. Thank you very much.
Okay, here we go. C for Charlie. 7 Spanish angels. He looked down into her brown eyes and say a prayer for me. She threw her arms around him, whispered God will keep us free. They could hear the riders coming. He said, this is my last fight. If you take me back to Texas, you won't take me back alive. There were 7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun. They were praying for the lovers in the valley of the gun. When the battle stopped and the smoke cleared, there was thunder from the throne.
7 Spanish angels at the altar of the sun.
They were praying
For the lovers in the valley of the gun.
when the battle
Stopped in the smoke and dew. There was thunder from the throne.
and the 7
Spanish angels took another angel home.
Wonderful job, guys. I want to thank you very much for coming out. You guys have been awesome. I also want to thank the Boulder City Community Club and Charles Chanowich Mays Brothers for coming out and helping out. Okay, you guys ready for another one?
Thanks, guys.
Our pleasure.
Round and round in circles, guys. Come on. Round and round. Round and round. Round and round. Come on now. Let go. Round and round. I'm getting dizzy. Oh, you guys did an awesome job.
Blame it all on my roots. I showed up in boots. Ruined your black tie affair. Thank you very much. The last one to know. The last one to show. I was the last one you thought you'd see there. I saw the surprise and the fear in his eyes when I took his glass of champagne. I toasted you, said, honey, we may be through, but you'll never hear me complain. 'Cause I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Now I'm not big on social graces. Think I slip on down to the oasis. So I've got friends, low places. All right. Come on, feel free to dance out there, you guys. What a beautiful day. guess I was wrong. I just don't belong to them. I've been there before. Everything's alright. I'll just say goodnight and I'll show myself to the door. I didn't mean to cause a big scene. Just give me an hour and then I'll be as high as that ivory tower that you're living in. So I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Now I'm not big on social graces. Think I slip on down to the oasis. So I've got friends low places. 'Cause I got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. I'm not big on social graces. Think I'll slip on down to the oasis. So I've got friends low places. 'Cause I've got friends in low places where the whiskey drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Now I'm not big on social grace. Think I slip on down to the oasis. So I've got friends.
All right, Joe. Thank you very much for coming out here and singing for us.
1, 2, 3 o'clock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're going to rock around 10 o'clock tonight. Put these bad rags on.
Come on now. Let's see you guys moving. Now that I got your attention, don't you sit down.
Oh.
You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your left foot in, you put your left foot out, you put your left foot in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your right arm in, you put your right arm out, you put your right arm in and then you shake it all about. You put your left arm in, you put your left arm out, you put your left arm in and then you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn it all around. That's what it's all about.
Right elbow.
You put your right elbow in, you put your right elbow out, you put your right elbow in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your left elbow in, you put your left elbow out, you put your left elbow in and then you shake it all about. You put your head in, you put your head out, you put your head
And I want to hear you guys
and
sing
shake
it.
it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your right hip in, you put your right hip out, you put your right hip in and then you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your left hip in, you put your left hip out, you put your left hip in and you shake it all about. You put your whole self in, you put your whole self out, you put your whole self in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your backside in, you put your backside out, you put your backside in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You do the hokey pokey, the hokey pokey. You do the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about.
Great job!
This program is made possible with support from the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission's Department of Parks and Recreation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
We all know the song.
So proudly we hailed.
It has been ingrained in our national consciousness. But what is the real story of the Star-Spangled Banner?
It would be really wonderful if every American could understand the true story behind how our national anthem came about.
I mean, we had no federal government to back us up, no federal army to speak of, and yet the people of Baltimore decided that the country's future depended on the actions that they would take together and as individuals to defend the great idea of what our country could become.
Join us as we explore the origins of Francis Scott Key's composition and its journey to become one of the most famous songs in the world.
I take a tremendous amount of pride that whenever I'm at events around the country and the Star-Spangled Banner is sung, that I can always smile and know that that's a Maryland song, that this was a story that was written by the heroism and the courage and the actions of Marylanders at a very dark time in our country's history.
From 1812 to 1815, the United States of America engaged in its last armed conflict with England.
1814 is the year the Empire strikes back. They burn public Washington to the ground, the Capitol building, the White House, ruins.
But in the War of 1812, the actions were sometimes extremely violent. Men died, some of them horribly. And it's very difficult, even from this distance, to look back and think what that must have been like. But I actually think it's very important that we try to envisage what those men went through and why they went through it. Why did they perform this duty?
Why should Americans know anything about this guy, Francis Scott Key? He was just an attorney in Georgetown. Well, it turns out that he happened to be present at the bombardment of Fort McHenry, and he also happened to like to write lyrics to songs, and he also did some poetry, and out of all of that came our national anthem.
And welcome Myshio Miller, who will sing our national anthem.
When you hear our national anthem performed at a major sporting event, how close to Francis Scott Key's vision is that performance?
The Star-Spangled Banner is supposed to have been based on a British drinking song.
I've come to believe that all the world is made of stories, and for the longest part of our history, we told and retold those stories, very often with the help of melodies.
We often turn to music when the spoken word or printed word is not enough.
When you're singing, you can say some things that you don't know how to say in words.
The extra edge that music has is the melody that conveys those words.
A song is always easier to remember than just a verse.
With the lyrics and with the poetry put to music so that not only we could remember it more easily, but also so others could retell it and so that we could tell it together.
The
Baltimore Colts fight song was written in 1947 for the All-American Conference of Baltimore Colts. It was used by 5 different professional football teams in this city. This, next to the Stars Spangled Banner, is the most popular song in Baltimore. The fans know some of the words, but they know the words fight, 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 and they scream it. So that shows you the power of music just in a football game.
Sometimes we're not even conscious that we've turned to song. When you go to a birthday party, you just sort of expect you're going to sing happy birthday. When you walk into a church or a synagogue, there's certain kind of music that you expect to happen there. You go to a funeral, you expect the music to be appropriate to that setting.
Music can be very emotional. My father was a musician, and he was in the Navy. He was a trumpet player. And because of that, I've been to more funerals than I would care to remember, where my dad was playing taps. And as young as I was, and through all of those years, it's really had a profound effect upon me. So when my brother died and my father died, and you hear taps, knowing that here my father was someone that actually played taps at some of these kinds of events, it's a very emotional time for me. But I find that to be the same way with the Star Spangled Banner, because I am so interested in the War of 1812, and I really have an appreciation for what went on at that time and how the song really came about, that when I hear that song, I do get chills up my spine.
Once the civil rights movement is in full swing, many different elements are in play. The church leaders of the day knew the power of marching arm in arm with melodies that were familiar from church as well.
In 1968, April of 1968, I worked for WMAR-TV, and I got a call on a Saturday night, come into work, and that was when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, and I was at work for 1 week, and didn't realize I would be there that long, and we were put right out into the riots in Baltimore, and to see your city burn is a tragedy.
During a time of strife, it may not be that people consciously know why they fall back on music.
As we were coming down the streets shooting film in those days, you see a church group coming out of a church, and looking at one side, you look to your left, and you see the people coming out. It was Palm Sunday, singing We Shall Overcome. And you look to the other side, and you see people rioting and burning buildings. To me, again, music. It came to music. The rioters stopped, looked over at the people at the church, and just stood there. And the people didn't budge. They said, we shall overcome. They were doing their music of peace.
Music has obviously an emotional connective power that you don't get just with printed words. Key was born during the American Revolution. Music was very much an amateur affair. There were very few professionals. Music was done on such an informal basis. And the context of it, of course, is life is very quiet and very slow and very dull. So there's a strong need for people to teach themselves how to play the fiddle, to be able to accompany an informal dance.
I love the idea of music as a living, breathing, changing thing. One really good example of that is a tune called The Rose Tree. Common song, common tune. It was in The Poor Soldier, a very favorite opera of George Washington's. That became more of a dance tune. And when a fiddler plays a dance tune, you know, the dance might go on for 12 times through the tune, and you play it the 12th time and you're just getting kind of bored, and you do it another night 12 times and you start to change it around. And all those extra notes then are added because of the boredom of the fiddle player.
Music is always going to fill a function. In the days of Francis Scott Key, that function was very, very broad. You know, the soldiers marching to engagements. It's the drum that sets the cadence for the march, but it's the fife that gives it color.
We've motored
plenty grape shot too, so have we men to hand them. Of musket balls we have a few, I fear they cannot stand them.
Yankee Doodle, beat the drum, Yankee Doodle dandy, and hit by day or night they...
You don't always need a musical instrument, though, to have a song. And I think in many cases, in the colonial period and up through the 1812 era, very much music making occurred just by singing.
When Colburn passed the fort below and Ross was past the point, sir, he gave 3 cheers to let them know that he was not behind, sir.
Yankee Doodle, beat the drum, Yankee Doodle dandy, and if by day or night they come, they'll always find us handy.
Leading into the early 19th century, there's still a very strong sense of separation between the elite and the rest. The one place you'd find these people together would be the theaters. And in the theaters would be a mixture of straight drama, of ballad opera, presentational dancing, solo songs. In America, much more so than in Europe at this time, the audience takes more and more control over what's performed by calling for Yankee Doodle, by calling for Hail Columbia, by encoring songs, not just once or twice or 3 times, but 5, 6, 7 times. The audience has the apple in hand it will throw if it's not happy.
Let glory proclaim to the hills of the west the triumphs of freedom afar. Our song be Decatur and liberty blessed, huzzah for the brave and the war.
What we see right after the Revolution is the beginning of the professionalization of America's musical industry. We start to see building of theaters. We see an influx of professional printers and composers.
Publishing was very expensive. In Key's day, it was far more expensive to publish a piece, even just a single sheet of music, than it is today by a long shot. It was much easier to print pages of words that could be sung to a familiar tune, as opposed to printing an entire hymnal, so that you could have a collection of word books that were also very popular. As a matter of fact, we know a lot about early performances from word books as well as from the actual music. So it made a whole lot more economic sense to be able to print collections of texts and then indicate which hymn tune they might fit with.
The ballads that tell the stories of great heroes and so forth, many of these were never written down. We'll never know them. It's only the more popular ones, or the ones of greater interest, that at some point a printer puts the words into type and runs off copies. And by, say, 1810, we start to get into the mass production of sheet music. We have been importing it from England and other European countries for a while, but we really get into printing by then. And it's that mechanism that's in place when the Star-Spangled Banner is first put into sheet music form.
Francis Scott Key came to Annapolis at the age of 10 and began the first of 7 years at St. John's College,
which even today, more than 200 years later, subscribes to the broad, great books study of Greek, of a language, science, exposure to cultures going well back in time. Especially as he rubs shoulders with other wealthier gentlemen. This expectation of writing poetry, of having a sensitivity, a cultural heart, was very important.
He was very fortunate, even though at a young age he was away from home, but he had family that lived in Annapolis and just outside of Annapolis.
He stayed with his great-aunt and uncle, whom he was named after, Dr. Upton Scott.
Dr. Scott served in the Royal Army and was also the personal physician to the colonial governor, Sharp. And so here we have Key, who we think of as a great American patriot, who spent many of his formative years in the house of what we could call a loyalist.
Francis Scott Key was a religious man within the Episcopal Church, not just attending services, but taking leadership roles as well. and therefore he would have been exposed to church music. In fact, he ended up composing a couple of hymns.
After he graduated from St. John's College, he was at a crossroads. He didn't know if he wanted to go into the ministry or whether he wanted to become an attorney.
Francis Scott Key was my fourth great-grandfather. And he and his wife Polly were married here in Annapolis.
When Key married into the Lloyd family, he married into a very musical family. Mrs. Lloyd, his mother-in-law, played on the English guitar. Music was an important defining aspect of upper-class life.
The Lloyd family might have been a little hesitant that their daughter was marrying someone who was maybe not quite at the same level that they were. But nevertheless, the marriage did take place. It appears that it was a very happy marriage.
And he was very close to his whole family. And I think I have this feeling they had a lot of fun together.
And as far as I can determine, they got along well with the Lloyd family.
Whether it's the national anthem or My Country 'Tis Thee, it shouldn't surprise any of us that some of our